thank you for having me here this evening. This is the fourth time that I've appeared before the commission since March, and I'm here for the same reasons that I've been here for each and every time, which is accountability, transparency, and commitment concerning 149 West Boston Drive. Before I get into my remarks, I'd like to read into the record several emails prior to tonight's evening. I was away, the last time I attended this meeting was October 26th. I then left the country on November 1st, returned on November 15th, and on November 16th I received a document that was quite concerning to me. So the email I sent on November 16th was Mr. Antonelli, and it states, I received an undated letter from Beals and Thomas concerning the annual maintenance of the 149 West Boston Drive. Implications of both the content and timing of what was written and the future intentions of the Parks Department regarding annual cuttings of 149 West Boston Drive is quite interesting and disturbing. Please document when this memorandum was written and who made the request for an update on the annual maintenance for 149 West Boston Drive. I'm requesting that this letter and the annual maintenance of 149 West Boston Drive be placed on the agenda for the next Parks Department meeting. Please advise when the next meeting will be scheduled and that this request has been made. Additionally, please confirm receipt of this email. There were several exchanges, and then the second email that I sent, and I want to read into the record. Mr. Antonelli, this was sent on November 17th. Thank you. I find your response to be passive-aggressive, insulting, and not in good faith. As a public servant, you should strive to build bridges to engage the community and not isolate and alienate. I am deeply offended by your lack of cooperation to help and build and improve the community that I represent and live in. November 17th, another email was sent to Mr. Antonelli. In order to have a again, there were several exchanges in between. In order to have a productive conversation at the next Parks and Recreation Commission, it would be extremely helpful if you could provide all the requested information and not selectively choose to decide which questions you will or will not answer prior to the meeting to place everything into a proper context. We have now established that the undated memorandum, which contradicts the July 30th, 2021 149 West Boston Drive Maintenance Memorandum, was received by the Parks Department on October 12th, 2023. What we have not established, the date the undated memorandum was written, who requested an update or revision to the July 30, 2021 memorandum, why was the undated memorandum requested or submitted on October 12, 2023, confirmation that both the July 30th, 2020 memorandum, the undated memorandum received on October 12, 2023 was discussed at the 10/26/23 Parks Recreation Commission meeting. It would be much more efficient for you to review the 10/26/23 meeting video and share the timestamp of the video of any testimony or statements that discusses the undated memorandum. It would be a waste of everyone's time at the November meeting to have to replay the entire 10/26/23 meeting. However, that information is critical and must be confirmed or debunked. Before I read the last two documents and we can get into discussion, it's my understanding you now have accepted the 10/26/23 minutes. If they're available this evening, I'd like to have a copy of those minutes. If not, when they will be available for my review. Now I'd like to go into the two documents that we're here for. The first document was sent to Cesar Valente, City of Worcester Department of Public Works and Parks, from David LaPointe, the consultant for the city, dated July 30th, 2021. Reference, maintenance of meadow area, 149 West Boston Drive, Worcester, Massachusetts, B&T project number 2407.06. You have seen this before, but to put everything in context. In that memorandum, on that date, it stated that 149 West Boston Drive property was recently cleared and grubbed of existing vegetation to remove woody plant materials and invasive plants that had become established on the property after many years when the property was allowed to become overgrown after the completion of the adjacent highway, Route 190. Upon completion of the vegetation removal, a seed mix, New England Conservation of Wildflower mix from New England Wetland Plants Incorporated, was spread across the area to stabilize the soil and provide herbaceous vegetation that could be easily maintained until such time that future use of the property is determined. Recommended maintenance consists of annual cutting at the end of the fall, late October, November, to help established species continue to drop seed on the site, as well as to induce the plant to move all stored energy into roots and out of the vegetation so that they become back stronger the following spring. The mowing is recommended in the fall of 2021, as noted. As you're all well aware, we have discussed the 2021 maintenance issue or lack of 2022, and I'm happy to report that the 2023 was done approximately around October 5th or 6th while I was out of the country. When I returned on the 16th, I was sent another copy of a memorandum from Beals and Thomas. This time, the memorandum was sent to Rob Antonelli, Assistant Commissioner, City of Worcester, Public Works and Parks, from David LaPointe. Reference, Meadow Maintenance, 149 West Boston Drive, Worcester, Massachusetts, Beals and Thomas project number 2407.06. This memorandum had no date on it. We have now confirmed through conversation with Antonelli that memorandum, which we still haven't determined when it was dated, was received by the Parks Commission on 10/12/23. And it states, regarding the mowing of the meadow area planted at 149 West Boston Drive property after the area was cleared of existing invasive and other woody vegetation, it has been determined that mowing in the fall was not necessary in order to allow additional time for the new herbaceous plant materials to become established and be allowed to drop additional seeds or allow the spread of seeds through other means, birds, wind. Upon establishment, although an annual mowing of the vegetation is recommended, it would not be detrimental to forego this annual mowing. This directly contradicts the July 30th, 21 memorandum. It comes after me appearing in this body several times, and after the first cutting that was done of the non-cuttings previously. So without having facts that I can't back up, but I have assumptions, I believe that there needs to be answers to why was there suddenly a request for a voluntary submission by Beals and Thomas to contradict what they had stated 2 years earlier. Why? So I would like to ask Mr. Antonelli, have we now determined the date that the undated memorandum that was received on 10/12/23 is dated?
Madam Chair, to Mr. Gomes, the date of that is October 12th, 2023.
There is no date on that memorandum.
The date I received it was October 12th,
Okay, but you
2023.
confirmed that there's no date on that memorandum.
There was none.
Okay, so
But just for the record, let me just answer two other quick questions for you.
yeah,
Number one, this item was on the October 26th agenda. It was included in the packages that were placed online for the agenda package for everybody to see, so it was in there. And to answer your question, the minutes are available right now on the city's website under the agenda. So you can look at those at whatever time you choose to.
sure, but I still want to, now I want to answer to the question. Why did that memorandum suddenly become part of the conversation 2 years later? And only after 4 appearances by me since March concerning the lack of maintenance and the continued pressure to have the 23 maintenance performed. If you're reading between the lines, from my perspective and from my history with you, I have a lot of concerns.
Sure. So through the chair, The letter was drafted as a conversation piece after the September meeting.
But
You were
hold on,
here,
hold
you
on.
were, let me
Hold on.
finish, you were here at the September meeting. You had some concerns, we stated what those were. I told you what we looked to do. We had verbal conversations with Beals and Thomas. I asked Beals and Thomas after that meeting to put something together that verified what that was. The October 12th item that you have now, that's been in the minutes, that's been in here twice now, was that conversation, was the conversation to put that into writing of our previous conversations about when we were looking at the site in the fall of 22, saying, you know what, it doesn't really look like we should be mowing this year based on its current condition. That's what that is. It was to identify that and to put that within the record. That's what that's for.
I want to be clear now. So the nexus to that memorandum being written on October 12th was a result of a conversation by you to Beals, initiated by you to Beals and Thomas. Is that correct?
The item.
Is that correct? Yes or no?
The item was something that we had talked about with Beals and Thomas in the fall of 22. And then when you brought it up, I wanted to verify with Beals and Thomas that what we had discussed back in the fall of 22 and the reasons why we didn't mow it were the same. I asked them to put that in writing. They put that in writing in the fall of 23. We received it on October 12th, 2023.
It's very clear to me what happened, Mr. Antonelli. In all due respect, I'm going to call for an investigation and for you to be removed as Parks Commissioner.
Through the chair, Mr. Gomes, I've been here for 4 meetings with you, and you're a moving target now. For the last 3 meetings, you were asking for a date on when something would be mowed. I can tell you, I drive by that, I'm not there every day, I don't live next door, but I drive that road every day. When it was mowed, I actually made a comment to Rob, saying, hey, thank you very much for getting this done. Now you've come with a whole new set of challenges for Mr. Antonelli. For the last 3 meetings, you were asking for a date when it would get mowed. That's what you were asking for, and it got done. Now you're coming with a whole new set of challenges. I'm not sure what the personal vendetta is against Mr. Antonelli, to be honest with you.
Can I be transparent?
Excuse me for a second, before you get started. I have through the chair, I have previously made it abundantly clear, anything that comes personnel related is not something this board or commission can deal with. We are volunteer members to represent you as a board and ensure that we are getting the proper policies and procedures put into place and that the money is being used in the proper way and that our parks are being taken care of. Any personnel issues need to go through the city manager. It is not something this board or commission has power or privy over. So these questions need to be directed to Mr. Baptista, not to this board or commission, okay? And anything further than that, we cannot help you here.
I don't have any problem with that. I'm just trying to.
I just wanted to make that abundantly clear.
Just to be clear, are you denying his motion?
Excuse me, sir. You're not at the podium. This young man is speaking. Please let him finish.
So I'm just trying to establish fact patterns. That's all I'm doing.
Not a problem.
And I have to go to the source of each one of those issues. And to this gentleman's comments, I'm not bringing anything new. There's no agenda. I'm going to be very transparent. Okay, it's very clear to me that Mr. Antonelli has used his position to try to manipulate, whatever reasons, the lack of wanting to address 149 West Boston Drive. That's my personal opinion. I believe that the facts will bear it out, and I think those phone calls that were initiated by Mr. Antonelli were driven for a specific purpose to cover the previous lack of maintenance of the project and to cover future lack of maintenance for the property. Very clear. It's any person who has the ability to read, has logic, can see it clearly. If they don't want to see it, because they're choosing not to see it. So any other comments from the commissioners?
So, if I may, I will say that the memorandum from Beals and Thomas bothers me in the fact that it's not dated, but I realize that is not drafted by Mr. Antonelli, that is drafted by them, but in my line of work, version control, dating everything, it's a pet peeve, and I'm with you, why is there no date?
I was a probation officer for 30 years.
Yeah, where's the date?
Documentation is documentation
So
is documentation.
I can certainly
It's not
appreciate your
written
attention to
inside
detail
that.
there. But again, that's not written by the Parks Department. I would be curious, so, I mean, looking at this, you know, if they're updating their recommendation, you know, they say in this, you know, upon establishment, although annual mowing of the vegetation is recommended, it would not be detrimental to forego this annual mowing. I would be curious in terms of, moving forward, looking at 2024, that, you know, in the fall, looking towards getting this mowed, what kind of information through the chair to Mr. Antonelli would the department need to receive, you know, as the neighborhood, as I think expressed very strongly, that they would like to see this mowed on a regular basis to ensure that that does continue. And as here it says it is recommended, though it wouldn't be detrimental. I can certainly appreciate in years of drought, we may not want to mow it because it could cause more damage. But I think that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Gomes, that communication of that would probably be beneficial. Of, hey, we've had a drought year, we don't want to mow this, it's going to damage the grass, and no one wants a patch of dirt.
I have been extremely clear on each and every time that I've been here, looking for what the commitment will be. And the more I pressed that, the more pullback I got on it. And then, again, I'm gonna say, it's my opinion, that second memorandum was drafted as a result of conversation between Mr. Antonelli and the agenda that he has. That's my personal opinion. Can I prove it? That's up to the integrity of Beals and Thomas and Mr. Antonelli.
So I guess my question to Mr. Antonelli is just in terms of, you know, I'm sort of looking towards 2024 to, you know, get ahead of things as best we can. It's been mowed for 23. You know, I think we're, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we're all happy that it's been mowed. But looking towards 2024, what can we expect in terms of what sort of head, I guess, either, I don't want to say that it's absolutely being mowed because obviously there are factors we can't control. We don't know the weather will be, we don't know what's going to happen next year. But should the neighborhood come forward and say that they want to mow it, what kind of heads up or, you know, lead time would the department need in order to respond to that to ensure that the work be done?
So through the chair to Commissioner, the plan is to mow it in the spring, in the fall of next year. We will evaluate it as we do with all areas to see, you know, what the condition is, what we had for weather patterns over the 12 months after we mowed it. We're going to look at those kinds of things. I can definitely see us, if there are concerns on our end, that we can reach out to the neighborhood and say, hey, this is, we're seeing this, and based on this, we're going to mow it later in November, or we're not going to mow it, or whatever that may be. That's not a problem, and I think that's on that side of it we can do that. But the plan is to mow it on a yearly basis in late October, early November, just as we did this year.
That's good enough for me, as long as it happens. Good enough for me.
And through the chair, it did happen within the time frame that I stated to this commission of when it was going to get mowed. So
Not in 21 and 2022. And it only happened in 23 because of the ongoing pressure that you were put under to perform, Mr. Antonelli. Let's be transparent.
Let's be transparent, and I disagree with
Let's
your
get a new
comment.
start. You made a commitment now, publicly, which I've been trying to ask for, that you're going to commit it. You're going to cut it on an annual basis every year. And as long as it happens, you will never see Carl Gomes at this meeting again concerning that subject.
Through the chair, so the first thing is I forgot to say, can we just, for the meeting minutes, just correct the date that this gentleman gave? It's actually July 31st of 2021 for that first memorandum from Thomas and Beals, July 31st, 2021.
Wait, what?
I'm pretty sure.
It says July 30th.
Yeah, it's July 30th.
I'm sorry, y'all. Well, I retract that.
No problem.
I must have been looking at something else.
No problem.
The other thing too is that, so through the chair to Mr. Antonelli, so that it's clear for Mr. Gomes and for, everyone else. So typically, in the fall season, even if it's late fall season, this parcel at 149 West Boylston Street will be mowed at least this one time per year if the weather conditions are suitable prior to the mowing. Is that what we're clearly stating?
So we're clearly stating the plan is to mow once a year. If there are concerns with mowing it, then I'm more than happy to bring that up with the neighborhood and say, there are concerns with it based on environmental conditions such as drought or whatever it may have been, right? And then we can have a conversation about it at that point. So I'll commit to that side of it with the anticipation that yes, we will mow it, but if there are concerns with it, we'll bring that to the neighborhood.
Okay.
We can do that.
I'd like to address.
Through the chair,
I'm sorry.
excuse me, Mr. Gomes, through the chair to Mr. Gomes, so it's clear that the fact pattern is supposed to be that, Mr. Antonelli will communicate with you and the neighborhood, surrounding 149 West Boylston Street about, if there is an issue with mowing, due to weather and other such things that affect the parcel.
That's clear. I guess like since we brought up the issue of drought, which was one of the things that was raised previous meetings, why it wasn't done, although I had requested maintenance records for that drought season for other parks, did receive it. So I'm assuming that if there's gonna be conditions that affect the mowing, that it's affecting other parcels as well, and that it wouldn't be individual to 149 West Boylston Drive. As I've stated before, I've been maintaining the community garden with the assistance of the state during supposedly drought conditions that we discussed, and there has been no change in the maintenance level of that parcel. And I have not been able to determine what effect the drought conditions that affected the last mowing that wasn't done on other parcels. So I have concerns about weather conditions, and make sure that those weather conditions are consistent to all parcels that are maintained by the city, not selectively 149 West Boylston Drive.
So through the chair to Mr. Gomes, with that being said, that's a totally separate item and issue and cannot be heard at this moment
No
with us.
problem.
This is only about 149 West Boylston, so legally, it's
No
something we
problem.
have no purview over.
No problem.
That's something that you will need to deal with through Mr. Antonelli for now.
No problem.
Okay?
Again, I want to thank Mr. Antonelli and the Park Department for performing the cutting for 2023. And I hope that we have established a new relationship going forward, and that we can work together cooperatively.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gomes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is a request for Mr. James Webb to seek permission regarding communication and use of city vehicles.
So I had a few things on my request to the agenda cited multiple questions regarding the Park Department's employees/commissioners' use of vehicles, as well as various communication issues from the Park Department, some of which appear to have been oddly isolated technical issues, others seem to be consistent and ongoing. So I'd like to first start off by saying, I've been a few times for Mr. Gomes myself, and it's very clear each time that he has been seeking commitment. And to just continue on the fact-finding search we were just on, we have confirmed that you received the second recommendation regarding your cutting for 2022 on October 12th of 2023. You've admitted that you're the one who requested it. So just to continue establishing the facts, when, Mr. Antonelli, did you request it?
Through the chair, it would have been after the meeting on September 26th, I think it is, or whatever that meeting
Yes,
was.
thank you. You said after the meeting before. What date did you request it?
I don't have a date that I requested it. It
Sure,
was
that's
after
fine.
that meeting.
Do you know so I guess the reason I'm asking, and so I guess to be clear, I am planning on being on next month's agenda too, because I'm still waiting for some things back from the Public Records Department, one of which is a request for the communication that resulted in that, and the reason for that is because on October, I believe, 11th, I received via a public requests record sorry, let me take a step further back. I was at that meeting, the first meeting that Mr. Gomes was at, and after he went up, I stood up and asked you a few questions, because frankly, the way you had handled it just didn't sit right to me. I was there that day because one of my friends had tried to be on the meeting and somehow wasn't on the agenda. I'll get to that later. We've got some communication issues that I want to address about that too. But then I asked you that night if you could, pretty much how you came to these determinations, because I asked you if there was, if these laws were written anywhere, if this was public, and you said no, these are things we review. And I'm like, okay, so there's nowhere we can read it, and you assured me no, it wasn't public, these were determinations, and I said, so you can't substantiate your decisions, and you told me you could, based on records, based on documents you received. And I said, great, well, we would like those, and you sent me to the law department. So putting that accountability avoidant behavior aside, I did go to the law department, and that is how we finally got the 2021 recommendation that you previously denied. You referenced part of it, specifically not referencing the first 7 words of the second paragraph, saying recommended maintenance consists of an annual cutting at the end of the fall. You decided not to read that and left it out. And then when I was at the last meeting, we asked actually to, the meeting this was started not last, second last. When you asked us, when I asked to read the full thing rather than just it in context, I was told by, I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name. One of the commissioners told me that, yes.
Oh, it's Natalie.
Natalie said it had already been read and we were done with this. So I understand it might have been on the meeting, but I very specifically asked for the entire thing to be read so we could actually be familiar with it at that meeting, and that request was shut down, just to make sure that's all on the record. Anyways, so this public records request. I received one thing from you in response.
Through the chair.
Sure.
Public records is not something or any purview by this board.
It's not about the purview about your board, it's the communication. I was
But the
sent you
communication is a
Right.
different, separate issue than the public records request.
Well, with all due
That's
respect,
something
it's what
that
I'm
is-
here to be on the agenda
The
about
public
today.
records request is not handled by the Parks Commission.
No, it isn't.
And it is not handled by the Parks Department.
No, so
That
what
is
I'm-
something that's handled by the city manager and,
I know,
that's
it's never your
directly-
fault, just go to the city manager. Anyways, on 10/13, I received a second additional responsive record that wasn't previously available. So mostly the reason I'm asking is because it seems like, based on the fact that this record was not previously available on 11, when I received the first document, it would appear, timeline-wise, that you must have requested this document on the 11th or 12th of effectively the day you received it. And so in other words, earlier tonight, you said, yes, after that meeting, and I understand that's a legally vague enough time frame that you can be honest about, but just to be clear here, it sounds like you're describing that you didn't actually seek this record until you realized that we were about to get a copy of the 2021 one showing that contradicted what you had said at the previous meeting. So I guess mostly, I've got a few questions about the second request, but mostly, is it common for you to have verbal confirmation that there's no other documentation of to not do a project? Either through the entire board or to Mr. Antonelli, who has answered previously for the board.
Can you please restate the question?
Sure. Is it common for you to, let me actually specifically quote it. Do you commonly make determinations based on things that would not be detrimental to do?
Don't understand the question.
Well, it sounds like in 2022, you made a determination based on something, not what was recommended, but based on something that was called, and mostly what I'm trying to say is, this document reads, upon establishment of annual mowing of the vegetation is recommended, it would not be detrimental to forego this annual mowing. It reads like, so in other words, when I asked you at the September whatever meeting, if you could substantiate your decisions, you said yes based on documentation you have received, and then you received this approximately a month and a half after that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, you say you speak for the department, and you say you can substantiate your decisions based on documents you have received, but based on your behavior that, when technical difficulties happen, you will borrow your own laptop, you'll send someone the file, you'll delay the start of a meeting
Okay,
15
Mr.
minutes.
Webb,
Time.
excuse me,
I need to know where you're going, and
Okay, so
thought-
I
hold
gotta
on,
really
no,
get
you
what you're
stop. I thought we resolved this, the whole 149 thing.
Okay, I can go on to the next thing, I've got
No,
two
let's
communication
wait,
things.
let's wait. Mr. Charcheroni made a comment about vendetta, whatever, it's a strong word. We got to the end of it, it sounds like you even said, move forward, we're past this, you got what you wanted. I don't know where you're trying to
Okay.
go, but if it's not about
So
policy,
at best-
stop. If it's not about policy, if it's not about anything within our purview, if it's a personnel issue, if it's an issue you have with Mr. Antonelli, take it to those channels, but stop where you're going now.
So
If
I
it has
believe
nothing
the-
to do with policy, has nothing to do with the purview of this board, we're done.
So I believe the word Antonelli used earlier was best management practices, but at best, Worcester has a parks department with no regard for accessibility or accountability.
okay, Mr. Webb,
And what's beginning to
Can I-
look more and more like
Mr.
is that there's a
through the
system-
chair.
Can I make a
Mr.
motion
Webb.
to file this? Can we be done with this?
Mr. Webb,
Just,
Once
what is the
again,
name
we're
again?
Within the purview of this board,
So just be
I
clear,
would
best
like to
management
make a
practices are
motion
not within your
to
purview?
file this.
I second that motion. Mr. Webb,
Can we take
this is again,
Can we do a
once,
roll call vote, Helen?
once
Yeah,
again
sure.
about,
Everyone, it's okay, everyone can be against me, I won't take it
no,
personally.
it's no one's against you, sir.
No, you're
Before we
in
close
support of
this-
each other, not
before we
against me,
vote-
I
Can we
get
take
it.
a roll
Excuse
call,
me.
please?
Just do it,
Excuse
it's
me.
okay.
Before we
please,
close this,
No, they're
this
asking
is
for
a
a roll call at
personnel
this point.
issue. All of this is a
With
personnel
all due respect,
issue.
I'm already meeting with Amy Peterson, but this still
This
needs
is
to
a
be on the
personnel
docket,
issue
that
that
it's not
has
just all
nothing to
going, because
do.
you guys all
We-
gaslight.
Like, stop.
Yeah, take your roll call, but don't gaslight me and pretend that this isn't happening.
This is not productive, this is not going anywhere.
I agree.
Our duties, preserve, promote,
Duties.
review, recommend policies, procedures, rules, regulations, fees for the management of the parks. You know.
So what happens when those are not done
I'm
properly?
sorry, you wanna prosecute Rob and,
Not
you know,
prosecute,
that's
just hold
what-
accountable.
That's what you wanna do, that's what this is some sort of interrogation. We can't do anything about it. All
With all due respect, this is the
emails,
public
dates, and
record.
so on and so forth. This is the public record. That is.
Well, you can defend him, or you can admit that something hasn't been done properly here. And I
As
guess
the
I
chair
understand
says.
where, no, take your
And
phone call.
excuse me, sir, as the chair has just said, we do not have that purview. As I've stated
You're right, you have your own
previously
responsibility
through
to
this
do right by the
board,
people of Worcester.
you
Go
need to
ahead,
go
take
to
your
the
roll call.
city of, the city manager and the city council with these issues. There's nothing this voluntary board can do.
Again, not all of you are
We are not
voluntary, so
elected
you have had a
officials,
hate
we are
cars
not
since
appointed
99.
officials.
This is not,
Can we-
this is not.
Commissioner
We have a
There's a
Charcheroni.
motion on the floor, roll call please.
Commissioner Charcheroni.
As, what are we making a motion? He had two items on the agenda, are we just making them, that's on?
To file both of them.
I'd like to file the first one only, if anything, because he does have the second one, I just wanna hear what the second one is, to be honest with you.
Sure.
So if I would just say file, if you wanna make a motion to file just one, I'd be more comfortable with that than two.
Make a motion to file the first item that is being discussed.
Commissioner Charcheroni.
Yes.
Commissioner Darty.
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Yes.
Commissioner Goldstein.
Yes.
Commissioner Stratton.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Commissioner Samaro.
Yes.
Can someone read me what you put the second one on as the agenda?
The second is use of city vehicles.
Oh, wonderful, okay, so I've got two different things there, great transitionary point. The first was that I had identified a Blue Lives Matter sticker on a truck, but it sounds like, Mr. Antonelli has, since, had it removed. It only took 3.5 emails to confirm it was in fact a Blue Lives Matter sticker, but that got handled. And then the second thing was effectively just use of vehicles in city parks. I assume that people are supposed to be using them responsibly. Is it written anywhere what kinds of vehicles are actually allowed on the parks?
I believe if you're talking about, say, a Parks Department member or someone who has use of the parks,
I'm talking about the vehicles.
who is driving the vehicle?
So the type of vehicle, is it never relevant?
Depends on what they're doing.
Driving on the parks.
Okay, so I would imagine that the Parks Department past
So
your
with
life.
all due respect, I'm not looking for what anyone imagines. If you don't know, it's okay to say that.
Okay.
As,
The parks personnel would be driving trucks, equipment, cars as needed into the park.
So is this a no, it's not written down, this is still being spouted out of someone's head, just to be clear?
There is no make, model, style of vehicle.
Where are we going with this?
At this point, I actually just want to see if anyone was able to answer something specifically. It seems like the answer is no, it's easier to hide behind vagueness. Thank you.
Well, what are you fishing for? That's the point. What are you trying to fish for?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't, so this is actually separate. I was just antagonizing Antonelli by getting a bunch of things about him. And it was on the record that he had.
I motion to file his second,
Yeah, you can use this one.
I motion to file his second, agenda.
I'll second that motion.
Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Tracheroni?
Yes.
Commissioner Darty?
Yes.
Commissioner Gutierrez?
Yes.
Commissioner Goldstein?
Yes.
Commissioner Stratton?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Samaro?
Yes.
Chair, we do have a hand in the channel. It's John Grant.
We filed it at this point, so. Okay. Ask him what he wants to speak on.
Jessica, Mr. Grant, could you hear us? Oh, he left.
The next item is a request by Andy Serrato to speak to the commission regarding issues at Newton Hill.
Indian Hill, this will be interesting actually.
Good evening. I want to start off by thanking folks of the board who thank the city of every place. I've known Rob for 30 years plus. Great guy, a lot of respect for him, works hard. This bothers me when I just watch. I remember having a conversation with him saying, how long are you gonna do this? He goes, as long as it's fun. And what I just witnessed wasn't fun, and I just wanted to say that much before I get started. I'm a resident of Worcester, I grew up in Worcester, I was around the science, I got involved with Friends of Newton Hill a few years back. And we have concerns as a group of the ongoing activities that are happening after hours on weekends. I just turned 60 years old, and I'm gonna say when I was 18, I did the same thing. But what's happening now and the concerns I have is vandalism that's going on after hours. You have young kids going in, drinking, leaving, going in on Friday, leaving Saturday morning. Who knows who's going and how they're not. Rob's been great in communication. When we let them know there's an issue, they pass it on. And I think everyone tries to do the best they can. But I was hoping that as a board, you could come up with something, or maybe a little more pressure they could do spring and fall to kind of keep a better eye on things up there. There was one day in particular that we actually saw on Pleasant Street, there was 24 vehicles parked along Pleasant Street, but the kids just went up the hill, did this stuff, then came back down. There was some communication with emails where Rob did chime in, I shouldn't say chime in, but he did speak up and say, hey, maybe we could get some cameras in place. On my own, I reached out to Cornerstone Bank. They were willing to try to work with us to get a camera there. I'm trying to get communication in order to do something there as well. But with the new Doherty High School, I figured maybe we can get a camera up there. We have Blessed Sacrament Church, and just Root Square alone, we have the building, maybe some other spots. I know a couple of years back, I remember being up at Crystal Park where a police officer actually stopped, walked through the park, came back out, and I asked him what he was doing. It was part of his job just to be able to walk through the park occasionally, keeping an eye on things. Rick's gonna give you some dates that happened this year, continually happens every year, but I was just hoping we could kind of come up with a better plan come this spring when it happens again. Because what's happening right now is just like volunteers cleaning up the mess week after week. I just wanted to see if we could get some other help besides with the hard work that Rob already does.
So Madam Chair, let me chime in quick before Rick goes and talks. We've been working with the Friends of Newton Hill for 26 years together, trying to improve the hill. We continue to have issues up there with homelessness. We continue to have issues up there with inappropriate use at night. What I can tell you, at least on our end of it, I've communicated these concerns to Worcester PD through the mechanisms I have through them. I've communicated those issues with our quality of life team on the homeless component. We've instructed our security guards to track parking on Pleasant Street or in the surrounding neighborhoods next to Elm or the other way to see if we can get a read on when we're seeing increased parking in those areas. So we've done that as well. We have stopped a bunch of them. Staff have been able to get up there and break that up, or we've been able to talk to one of the precinct captains to assist us as well. But it is continual, and it is continual for them, it's continual for us. We only have one unarmed security guard most nights, so it's difficult on our end of it. I think that as the school gets closer to opening, the new Doherty High School, the access to the facility up there will be much easier. So right now, to get to the main access point, right, we have to go through a construction site, which is Doherty Memorial High School, the new one. There is and will be, through some of Rick's hard work and some collaboration with us on parks, the ability there's a little parking lot up on the top behind Doherty, and then that will be where the gate is as well, to be able to get up into there. It'll be much, much easier for us to get our security vehicle up there, to be able to be much help for them to be able to get their equipment up there as well. I'm hoping as we sort of move through this that will help us as well. But we continue every time Rick lets me know, every time I know it's going to be a warm Friday or Saturday night, I'm on the phone with the principal over at Doherty, who I talk to regularly during the warmer months, asking him to help us sort of put it out there, let them know that we're going to be watching. I'm in contact with Worcester PD as well. We're using our park security staff on that end as well. I think for us, it's just staffing for us. We're at one staff, one individual. There's been times where I've gone there as well, driven by to see, what the parking looked like and how that sort of was playing out, so that I had a better visual to explain to the precinct captain or to PD, well, this is what we're seeing. We need PD to help us get up on top of the hill to get it taken care of. So we've done a lot. We'll continue to push on all angles, at least on our end of it, that we can. And we'll continue to try to work with Worcester PD as well. But it is, and it seems, for the three of us who deal with it regularly, never ending. We have talked about putting cameras over on the building at Newton Hill. So the Friends, we work with the Friends on that building there and the restrooms that are incorporated there. So we've been looking to try to do that, particularly on the street side, so we can get a visual on parking that's happening on that street. That will help PD to be able to take a look and say, oh, there seems to be more cars there Friday night at 9, 10 o'clock at night, right? It helps on that side too. So we've been doing a lot. There's probably more we can do as well, and we'll continue to push on our end of it to try to work with them to accomplish that goal of stopping the vandalism that's happening up there and the inappropriateness that's going on up there. So I would ask you can allow Rick to speak if he's interested in speaking.
I just want to comment one more time. The city's blessed to have this gentleman over here. I think he's the hardest working employee the city has. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate everybody hearing our concerns. We really just wanted to bring this to the commission's attention. This year, between the after-hour parties and the homeless activity, it's been very frustrating. As you can see at the bottom, Friends of Newton Hill has been, for the last 22 years, actively volunteering their time to improve that facility, that park. And none of that would have got done without the partnership and the work with Rob and his staff, Jeff, Millie, every one of them have played an important role in that facility going from a overgrown, vandalized 60-acre property to basically a 12-month-year facility where there's hiking, there's cross-country skiing, there's disc golf, and people from all over New England come to that facility. And like I said, Rob, thank you for your commitment to us and everything you've done to help us achieve these goals. So I just want to make that known. And whatever we can do to minimize this activity, this is a public safety thing. When Andy talked about this April 14th date, some of these dates have 2 dates. That's because this activity is starting like 11 o'clock at night and going till 1 or 2 in the morning. That's the frustrating part of this. Rob's been good with park security, but I believe their shift ends around midnight, so there's issues with that. But whatever we can do to minimize this or put an end to it, we would greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Craig Deganation. I'm a citizen and lifelong resident here in the city. And I saw this on the agenda, and I wanted to come here this evening to follow up and support what these two gentlemen are speaking about. I live off of Jim Street, beyond Chandler Street, and the triangle, Chandler, Maine. And I don't speak for any agency, but this issue frequently comes up at nearly every neighborhood meeting where Newton Hill is a concern. And I know with the new very high construction, I don't know if there's going to be any boundary changes. I appreciate at another neighborhood meeting, Assistant Commissioner, and the level of staffing that he has to help things out up there. In the meetings I've attended, Worcester Police, the neighborhood response team, the precinct captains are in those meetings. Certainly the neighborhood response team is. The precinct captain is there every meeting. And again, I don't speak for anyone, but they're doing the best they can, and I know that it's a lot of work, but hopefully we can continue to make progress. And I appreciate the volunteerism that you folks do. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just had one question for the chair to the commissioner. Is with the security cameras, who will be monitoring those security cameras if they get put in?
So anything that's on the city side is not monitored 24/7. So what usually ends up happening is if park security sees something during their shift, right? So when we know that it's gonna be a nice day or a nice evening, right? Jeff and I will instruct the security staff to pay certain attention to certain areas, right? Because we know that, this may be happening there or this happens there. And we can gauge from experience in working with Rick and Andy, how that, what that timing looks like. So we'll say to park security, go there and check it out, and then what they'll do is, if they need assistance, they'll call PD. So PD would be able to bring those cameras up in their cruisers. Park security can bring cameras up in their cruisers. So if park security is tied up on something else, say on the east side, and can't get over there right away, right? They'll pull that up on there. They can pull up cameras and be able to say, oh, everything looks okay right now. I'm okay, doing my regular route. We do this in, throughout the system. If not, and they see something, then they'll know that they need you know, they'll do a direct line from wherever they are when they're done with that certain situation or review to that area to try to figure out what's going on. So the cameras are not monitored, but we'll also have it where we can go back to it. So they get covered over or over every 30 days.
Okay. Follow-up question, if you don't mind. Are there cameras in the city that are inside, for like heavy forested areas like this? I imagine this is an area where you go in and it's heavy forestry, but there might be some open space where people are gathering. Are there cameras that can be put like on the trees or put up to focus in on that area and detect movement similar to like a ring camera with alerts and lights go on?
So
to deter some of that?
So as of right now, no, because you need power to be able to do that, and to be able to get that there. Rick has used trail cameras, and we put up trail cameras for certain situations to sort of get a understanding of sort of what's going on and when, and you're able to track that on that end of it. The problem is as you continue to video, right? There's one, either you need to get it off site, right? Or you gotta save it on site, and then you need power for all of that stuff. Now batteries do work, but as Rick knows, they go dead relatively quickly on that end of it. So
And as a Parks
it's
Department, we don't
different
believe in
piece
solar.
on that end of it. So, we've worked with Rick on a couple of those items, but to have the system that we have for the city, it's difficult up there on that end of it. We are experimenting with the opportunity for cellular-based ones that looking to have a longer battery life on them, but we haven't finalized on that system as of yet. We have portable ones that we can put up on a utility pole and plug in, but we don't have that right now for sort of those kinds of locations that are somewhat out of the way on that as of right now. We continue to look at it, continue to work with other city departments to see how and what we can find for that.
Yeah, I just feel like if we continue to explore that, which I'm sure you will, if we have access to be able to light up the space, see what's happening, and it get monitored or reviewed by somebody right in time.